Hey, hey, this is Tiger. Welcome to my stream. What is that? I cannot see anyone here. Am I not live? Yes, I'm live. At least this is what Twitch is telling me. But everything is blocked out because there is something in the chat that is blocking the view. That is the problem. Subscribe to earn drops. But I cannot get it out of the game. Dobry den, CD Radar. I hope, AJ, you are there. Good evening to you. And welcome. I popped a message here. I cannot see it because Twitch is blocking it with whatever advertisement there is that I cannot get out of the way. And even if I show don't... Ah, now. Here is a dismiss button. Thank you so much. A gutes Spectre. What language is this, after all? So where is my OBS? So nice to see you guys. We're having a first look at Frankfurt S-Bahn DLC. Yeah, I've been able to play it a bit already. It has been released this morning, and we're doing... yeah, something like an unboxing stream that we know from Trains in World 4 and 3 release. Again, I have to disclose that I got this DLC for free as being an ambassador for Dovetail Games. Nevertheless, you will get my unfiltered opinion on what is happening here. I first wanted to take you into the timetable, and this is the first thing, obviously. The big point, there is a Frankfurt S-Bahn timetable, and there is a Frankfurt S-Bahn reduced timetable. Inspector said it is a Frankfurt slang for the good day. Ei gut. I see. Geez, we had some very interesting times on our line these days. The CD Radar, I don't know if you are interested. We definitely are. Let's drop a line while I am, relaying the thing with the timetables. The thing is, it comes with two timetables on the PC version, on Steam and Epic Game Store, but it comes only with the reduced timetable on Generation 9 consoles, and not at all on Generation 8 consoles, from what I have understood. At any rate, if you look at the full timetable, you see quite a lot of different kinds of traffic. For whatever reason, it always flips back if you first go into it. But this is a core issue, I'm sure. And the train that comes new, that has not been in the game before, is this one, the 430.1. It looks a bit like trains that we have seen before, because it is more or less a successor to the 422, 423, 425 trains that are successors to the 420 trains that we are still waiting to be built by TSG. Has been on the roadmap forever, but never released since then. So the 430 is genuine to this DLC. The 423, it is also a train that comes with this DLC, but it has been in the game before, in Augsburg, Munich, I think, for example. And the 425, it layers in von Bremen-Oldenburg. So if you see trains running around with a Niedersachsen ist am Zug logo on the livery and named after towns and villages in Lower Saxony, then you know that is a 425 layering in to the Rhine-Main area. So the livery is obviously not the one that you would expect in real life. But anyway, the train makes sense here. The 422 is not layering in here. What is layering in still is the 642 from the Maintalbahn. That is the small Lind train. Not the Lind train, it's obviously the classic the Zero train by Siemens. And it's layering in here from the Maintalbahn. The 411 is Frankfurt Fulda. layering that is coming in from the core route that we had in train symbol 4. Also the 403 ICE3 is layering in from Kastel. Würzburg Kastel, that was a core route for train symbol 3, I think. Also the ICE1. A genuine locomotive that comes with this DLC is the 143 that we had in different versions, and now is the point where I block the music. And I don't want to talk over the music anymore. Just to remind me that I have to turn on the sound again when we're actually driving something. So the other 143 versions that we have in Dresden and Ruhr Nord or wherever, they are not layering in. It is just this one that comes genuinely with Frankfurt S-Bahn. And sorry I am late, this Juniper, that is no problem. We are still going through whatever layers and locomotives we have in this Frankfurt S-Bahn DLC. So obviously we also have a cab car to the 143, and from what you can see here, it is now like 10 different versions of this 766.2 or 767.2 cab car is now layering in here, so you can choose from 10 different versions of this cab car, what is obviously a bit confusing. The normal 101, not the expert 101, but the normal 101 from Hauptstrecke Rhein-Ruhr is layering in here and gives you like 13 IC services to play. Then the red 363 from Rüsselsheim Nord is layering in. I actually bought it to show you this morning on sale. Epic Games Store has a big sale at the moment, so if you're interested in getting some routes to bolster your backlog at the moment, it's a bit of a bargain, because not only there is a big sale going on Epic Games Store, but they also give like 20% reward instead of 5 that you usually get. So I got finally, I think, one of the oldest locomotives that I did not have before, the red 363, and if you have the red 363, then also the blue ones are layering in, and the G6 shunter is layering in, so they are sharing the services. You can pick whatever shunting locomotive you want to drive, but if you don't have the red one, then the blue one and the G6 do not layer in from what I have seen. The Vectron is layering in for some freight services, the Fulda version, and the classic Dresden version. What is not layering in is the green Flixtrain Vectron. Probably because it is meant to pull passenger cars and not rail, not freight. I'm a bit confused today because my day has been long, but nevertheless, I hope we will get to it. So, summary, what comes with this DLC as a new train, the 430, and then new versions of the 423 and the 143 and the cab car that comes with it, the 766.2. No Flix trains as Juniper, yes, that is the point. And this is the timetable that you get on PC, Steam and Epic Games Store, and on the consoles you only get the reduced ones, and here you see is a bit less, and it is obviously the trains that come with a DLC plus the tilting 411 ICE from Frankfurt Fulda layering in. So it's still quite a lot of services, but I can see how console players are miffed about this. I would be miffed as well. It is still a good DLC. You still get a lot of stuff, but it's always annoying. Me, the Spectre, yes, I totally feel you. There has been a lot of discussion going on. I cannot tell you what about, but I can tell you that there is a discussion going on how to best play this. And yeah, from what you can read in the open internet, it is clear that there is the fraction who says console players shouldn't be put in the second row, and there's the other fraction that says PC players shouldn't be held back because people are too cheap to buy a proper PC instead of a cheap console. And As always, the truth is somewhere in the middle, I see, and it is hard to balance it, I guess. What I can tell you is that it is not something that is taken lightly, and it is still an ongoing discussion. CD Radio says, I like how these S-Bahn trains are also similar, only different in details. Like when it's cool, I'll let you copy my assignment but make some changes so it's not recognizable. Yeah, that is true. Especially those red trains that were built by Adtranz ABB in the 90s and are now built by Bombardier, Alstom. They look all a bit the same, right? What we don't have in the game is the Coradia Continental Alstom train. It also fits more or less into this gap, I should say. Well, anyway, what did you say about what happened on your line for the last 3 days? Every afternoon, every rush hour, there was a technical issue on the same spot and station, but every day a different problem. On Sunday there were minor delays, Monday had major delays, and today that section was closed entirely. So yeah, I hope that means that the cycle starts anew on Tuesday then, no? No, Wednesday. Wednesday is tomorrow. And then it goes through the cycle again. And see the races, I think Adtranz is now Bombardier, isn't it? More or less, I should think so, yeah. It went to Bombardier, Bombardier went to Alstom, and now it's all at Alstom. All those different companies that we had since then. Inspector says 420 will be coming, won't it? I guess it will, but as I said, it has been on the timetable for ages, and at some point my goals of TSG said in the forum, it will come as soon as he manages to get it done. So at some point it will come. I have one of those Arbeitsmappen for the 420, so I hope it will be in the game at any point in time. So that is that. But now let's just play a bit. And after that, I have prepared a little map to show where we are actually playing, because it's actually quite funny. This DLC closes a gap between two DLCs that we have already, two routes that we have already. And let's start with a short service that takes us from Frankfurt Main to the Fernbahnhof at the Frankfurt Airport. See, there is Adtranz or Bombardier made bogies for our metro trains, but then all of them cracked, so they were replaced by Siemens. Well, this does not bode well for Adtranz and Siemens. By the way, I actually thought I would not get into the way of an official Train Sim World Frankfurt S-Bahn stream, because on the forum it was announced that they were doing some someone is teaching Harry to drive the underground stream, but now it was announced a Train Sim World Frankfurt S-Bahn photo mode stream, and yeah, I apologize if that gets into somebody's way. Don't think that I will pull too many viewers that will have watched the Train Sim World stream instead, but nevertheless, I try to avoid that. And Fernbahnhof, so beautiful, says Juniper. Let me see if I can. Yeah, here is the mega sale on Epic Game Store. I know nobody actually except for me is playing at the Epic Game Store. Beautiful picture of the Mittenwaldbahn that we had last Sunday, 2 days ago actually. How is the FPS on the map? Actually, with my setup for Mittenwaldbahn, I did not run into any bigger FPS problems, but then I'm quite easily satisfied with FPS as soon as it does not really stop and freeze. I can live with like 25, 30 FPS and still not lose my eyes. So here we are. You can turn on the FPS marker if you want, and you can see where it is going. So, ICE starts not underground, but on the daylight version, or part of the Frankfurt main station. Train is doing his thing with all the voice controls. Okay. Spectre says, next DLC, Thomas and friends visit the Schnellfahrstrecke Köln-Rhein-Main. Juniper, I mean, with all the layers on the route, it is a really spectacular look at all those trains. Also, Köln-Aachen revamp is now so very busy, very nice. Well, the thing is, on the Epic Games Store, we still do not have the new timetable for Köln-Aachen because we have to wait for the evaluation of the Xbox tests. For whatever reason, we on the Epic Games Store have to wait for that. And AJ Black subscribed, and he has been subscribed for 20 months. 21 months, actually. Thank you so much, AJ, for all the support. Störung, Störung. EB gesperrt. And it has this nice North Bavarian or Northern Bavarian accent. So, we're getting dispatched. No, I already turned it on. Versus Kennlicht. Yeah, turn on my lights. Dispatched versus Kennlicht means we can't go faster than 40 until we get to a proper signal. See the radar, haha, just imagine how would this be like if Jedi trains had a Moravian accent. It is a thing that I would probably not recognize. So, we are not heading towards this red signal, but we are going to the left and therefore passing this signal that allows us or announces the 60 reduction at the next signal. So this is Frankfurt that we know from Frankfurt Fulda, and you can see there is a lot of traffic going on. To the left the 648s, to the right the 143 with the 766 cars. Actually 3 trains of them, and there is one 766.2 cab car standing about alone to the left. Here is an isolated set is 3 sign allowing us to accelerate to 60 as soon as we have passed it, even though we are not out of the Weichenbereich. But you cannot accelerate 40 to 60 until the whole train passed, right? Yeah, we cannot accelerate until we are out of here. But now we can. Not because we now passed the 60. So this is this really broad band of rail tracks that are coming out of Frankfurt Hauptbahnhof, what is a Kopfbahnhof, meaning we can only go in and out on one end, cannot run through. Slow down to 40 announced. So the process I notice is sometimes when riding a train in real life that the driver pushes up the throttle too soon after going over a switch, and it shakes the train up quite a bit. Oh. I've never really noticed that. What I often notice is if the driver brakes a little too late at the station, and then you can sometimes feel the wheel slip protection system kicking in. This whoop, 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 whoop movement of your train. So maybe I missed it, but no, probably not. Because of all the external shots, I don't know if we actually passed our signal with the 40 already, or if it is still coming up. Probably are a bit too slow, but this does not really matter. Whoops. This bridge draws in the external camera. At any rate, now we are like accelerating. We're passing the Main here, not the Rhine. The Frankfurt Niederrad area gives me the impression life is all about work. Only those huge office buildings, but nothing else around. Depressing, or am I just being lazy? Well, look at the plane, in what angle it is going up into the air. At any rate, now we should be allowed to go 60, and then, yeah. So we crossed the river Main, Frankfurt am Main. We're getting to the Rhine later. And this is why this area is called the Rhein-Main area. Because the Main joins the Rhine on its journey to the North Sea. It is still a limit to 60 announced. That's a 430 probably. They are running in triple traction, so 3 trains connected to each other. We're in the reds here with the FPS, but it is still rolling. Now we're out of it. Never know what actually is the reason for that. And now we are taking a corner to go underground into the Fernbahnhof. And the Frankfurt Airport is so big that you have two stations connecting it to the rail grid. The Fernbahnhof for the long distance trains and the Regionalbahnhof for the short distance trains. And my favorite story about the Frankfurt Airport is always I once had to switch flights at Frankfurt and arrived there in a plane, got off the plane from a remote parking position, got onto a bus, was taken by bus to one terminal. I had to go to the other terminal, and that is quite a bit that you have to walk then in Frankfurt. Waited there at the gate, got through the gate, into the bus. The bus was taking me out to the parking position. I got on the plane, sat in my seat, and I was actually sitting just across the aisle in the same plane with the same crew that I left like a small hour before. So that was 1 hour journey at Frankfurt Airport to just get across the aisle. That was really funny. So now the limit increases to 100. And now dipping and preparing for going underground. There's a small stretch of going in the ditch before we finally go underground. Did I not turn on the LZB? Because actually we should have LZB. It says it's normal. No. No, because you saw the LZB thing already before that. Oh no, our flight is delayed. Hope we can make the transfer. Limit will drop to 80 soonish. And down into the tunnel. And stop. But the LZB only shows us the limit to 80. And here's already. Now it shows us the limit to stop. Running underneath this big terminal. Massive office building on top with pretty cool design. Yeah. So. Doors open with a bang. And this is the famous Fernbahnhof. Not really underground, but with the office building on top. Over there is the terminal for the airport. Last time we got on the train here on this Fernbahnhof, coming from a flight from Bilbao. There was a lot of strike and stuff going on the airport, and they couldn't find our luggage. So we went to some attendants, and they actually gave us a photocopied page depicting a certain door, and told us that we have to find this door at the Frankfurt Airport because there would be someone in the know where our luggage was. And we tried our best, but we couldn't find this door. It was a door with a round window in it, but it didn't really say where to look for it, and I guess there are like 10,000 doors of that kind in Frankfurt Airport. And so we went on the train and home without the luggage. They sent it afterwards, so everything was good, but the thing with the photocopied picture of a door was a quite impossible task. Probably not even Chuck Norris would have been able to do that. Let's lock our doors. Can you go up the stairs? I have not tried, Juniper. And Chuck Norris sits behind that door. I suspect you seem to have some pretty good stories about flying with my luggage. Yeah, he got all the luggage from the Bilbao flight. Yeah, those are my experiences, or some of them, with Frankfurt Airport. Well, before we go on and drive actually a 4:30 service across Rüsselsheim, I think I wanted to show you what I prepared on the map, because there is hardly a stream without a little presentation at any rate. So that we know where we actually are. So this is a piece of map depicting Frankfurt am Main, where we just started and still ended. Here is the big Frankfurt Flughafen Airport, so we have arrived here. We will see that. There is Mainz, there's Wiesbaden, where we get with the S-Bahn. Is there an Airbus A380 in the DLC? I have not checked, actually. You can see that we are in a piece of Germany where we have the northwestern corner of Bavaria, bordering to Hesse or Hessia or Hesse or whatever you want to call it in English, with Frankfurt. And on the other side of the river Rhine that you can see here, we have Rheinland-Pfalz in German, Rhineland-Palatinate for whatever reason in English. And yeah, for people who are interested in things like this, we actually have two state capitals, states, German Bundesländer, Rhineland-Palatinate, Mainz, and for Hessia, Wiesbaden, right? You would think that it's Frankfurt, but it's not, it's Wiesbaden, so close together, just divided by the river Rhine. And here comes the river Main that comes from the right, goes Hanau, Frankfurt, and then joins the Rhine here at Mainz and Wiesbaden. And actually, why did I say this DLC here closes a gap between pre-existing routes that we have in the game. I will show you. There is this route that obviously comes in mind, Frankfurt Fulda. It is a core route that came with the Trains in World. What was it? 5? Now I'm getting confused myself. It was a core route for Trains in World 5, Frankfurt Fulda. And yeah, obviously coming in from the northeast, from Fulda, and then Hanau, Offenbach, Frankfurt Süd, and then you're connecting here to Frankfurt Main, not going to the airport. And from the other side, we have this route that is set back in time, but still it is there existing, the left Rhine route, the linke Rheinstrecke, that is coming from the northwest on the other side of the Rhine. That is why it's called the linke Rheinstrecke. This is the Rhine coming from Switzerland and then going through southern and western Germany, and it is flowing in that direction. So if you're sitting in a boat on the river, then this is the left side and this is the right side, and because this line is on the left side, it is called the left Rhine. The linke Rheinstrecke is coming from Koblenz and then connecting to Mainz here. So we have a gap between Mainz and Frankfurt, and this is closed by the S-Bahn DLC. What lines do we actually have? We have not only one A to B line, but we have like 2 parallel lines that go north and south, again, if you want left and right, to the river Main, from Frankfurt to Mainz, more or less. And CD Radar says, oh, my favorite, the left Rhine is your favorite. I actually bought it on the Epic Game Store sale, but I have not driven it yet. But you can expect something on the left Rhine soon. So 2 lines, more or less, one to the left and one to the right of the Main here. The S1 track, more or less, is the one that goes on the northern side of the river Main from Frankfurt Main underground. And then here Flörsheim, Mainz-Kastel, and then to Wiesbaden. And the other route crosses the Rhine here, Niederrad, and then it goes through the Regionalbahnhof, not the Fernbahnhof at the airport, and out again, Kelsterbach, or whatever it is called, Kelsterbach actually, nein, Kelsterbach, and then it is going through Rüsselsheim, and at Rüsselsheim you have those beautiful old school semaphore signals. And I think last year I was at Wiesbaden for a conference, and I went there from Frankfurt with, I think, the S1 line on a Vias Regionalbahn. And I think I went back on the red route here because I passed Rüsselsheim and the Opelwerk Rüsselsheim. And they still have those, yeah, old semaphore signals. And when I was passing there, I thought, oh, those signals would be great to have them in the game. And now we have them. Then there is the slightly different track for the Fernbahnhof that we just went here on the pinkish route. We have to access this in a different loop to get to the Fernbahnhof that is a bit more to the north. And then there is a connecting line that brings back the Fernbahnhof trains to this line here, but I have not seen any services in the game that actually go there. Maybe you can go there on free roam. The tracks are in the game, I think, but this requires more investigation. This is why I have a dotted line here. Then we have some Regionalbahn services starting here at Bischofsheim, going through Mainz Hauptbahnhof to Wiesbaden. That is the green one. That are typically the trains with the 143 and the Dostos. A lot of them are going this way. And then there is another connecting line where you can go from Bischofsheim across the Main and then around this loop, not going through Mainz-Kastel. And I have spotted at least one freight service that goes this way and then up here at Mombach for maybe go on the left Rhine then. So this is how this DLC closes the gap between Frankfurt-Fulda-Kinzigtalbahn and the left Rhine. And it is actually a lot of track, because this is not just one single track, but many tracks, many switches, many signals. So a big chunk actually to operate. And I'm happy that it is here. And it is a busy area. It is the Rhein-Main complex with Frankfurt, Mainz, Wiesbaden, with a lot of important economy going on there. And accordingly, you have a busy connections in the area. And at first it reminded me a bit of the Hauptstrecke Rhein-Ruhr, because also there you have a lot of red trains and this parallel connecting thingy, but it is actually, in my opinion, a bit more dynamic, because you have those parts in the middle where you can go really fast, and all those interconnections make it much more lively, in my opinion. So that all in all, I think it is a good DLC, if there wasn't the bummer with the timetable for the console players that I totally get. So let's make it a bit more obvious where we are, so that we see our lines a bit better. And now comes the quiz part. On this map that I took more or less randomly from Google Maps, there are parts of 3 more DLCs, three more lines that are in pre-existing DLCs already. And who can name those 3 DLCs that have parts of their tracks on this map here? The first one is actually quite easy. The other 2 are really only very small parts of the DLCs are here. So unfortunately, I don't know if I'm so delayed that nobody can answer. But if you look at the map, for example here, Bad Vilbel, this might actually ring a bell. And Juniper Aschaffenburg, yeah, you are good. You are good. And Niedertalbahn, the Ludwigsbahn. Is the Ludwigsbahn on it too? I actually think not. But the Niedertalbahn is definitely. The Ludwigsbahn I did not check because I don't own it, so maybe this I was predisposed there. The Niedertalbahn is here, Bad Vilbel, and then it is going up to the northeast until we get to what is this called, Stockheim or something like this. So if you are sitting at Frankfurt and looking at the S-Bahn net diagrams, you can find Bad Vilbel and the Niedertalbahn there. So this is quite close. You can reach this by S-Bahn and then go on with the Niedertalbahn. And Aschaffenburg, as Juniper said, you can see the Ascha of Aschaffenburg here at the right border of my map, and the tracks that go into Aschaffenburg Port and some of the tracks that are Aschaffenburg Main are actually connecting there. So that is the Mainz-Bischofsheim in the DLC and also the Maintalbahn that share the Aschaffenburg station area. So those 2 DLCs are actually coming in here just around the corner. The Ludwigsbahn, actually I would have expected it to be a bit more in the south. But I will investigate this. Maybe some parts of them of it is actually leaking over. Ends at Mannheim, right? And Mannheim is a bit more in the south here, if I'm not mistaken. And then all the Rhine-Ruhr stuff, this is more to the north. So if you follow the Rhine and get to Bochum, Wuppertal, and all those cities. That will be in a different one. When we get a new Ruhr DLC, then we will have a look at how all those thingies connect. So I don't know if I bored you to death with this, but for me it is always important to see how things connect on a map. And it is sweet to say that we have now an ongoing connection between Fulda actually further on, right? It is in the Schnellfahrstrecke Würzburg. We have a connection to Fulda, so we can actually connect this to it and then go all the way Kinzigtalbahn, Frankfurt S-Bahn and left Rhine up to Koblenz. And there is another viewer cellar. I don't want that, thank you very much. So, enough of this entertainment. Let's go back to the serious matter of driving some trains. And for that, we check out a 4:30 service, and maybe I pick one that takes us through Rüsselsheim. You might know, and at least after playing this route you know it, that the Opelwerke are at Rüsselsheim. What used to be one of the biggest German car manufacturers, Opel, then belonging to the same group as Vauxhall and Renault, I think, and now merged with Fiat Chrysler to whatever, Stellantis cars or something like this. Started out as manufacturing sewing machines. Then cars, and now I don't think anything is manufactured there anymore, but I think the headquarters of this joint conglomerate is now again at Rüsselsheim. Funny name, by the way, Rüsselsheim. I've never understood why it is called Rüsselsheim. Oh, come on, I just wanted to punch in S8. Wiesbaden to Hanau, that is a bit different. Offenbach to Wiesbaden, that should take us through the Regionalbahnhof and then Rüsselsheim, yeah. Let's check this one out. So, again, we are starting underground. Train already started at Offenbach am Main, S8, and now we're going to Wiesbaden, and we're going on the left side of the River Main through Rüsselsheim. Get started. Train is quite easy to set up, reverser in, forward, and if you want lights you can turn them on. You gotta check where the platform is. It is typically to the right. The doors sound funny. PZB, SIFA, and that's it. Interestingly, they put this stop marker in front of the signal. So you have to move your head around a bit to see if the signal is green or not. Oh, and I'm a bit late. Setup time is short here. But that should not be our problem. Apply some power to release the brakes. And we can see that the first signal that we are passing is switched off by a Kennlicht. What is getting increasingly popular in the newer DLCs. The use of Kennlicht. And here's the first green signal. What I think is missing is a LF9 board that comes soon enough here. And then an LF10 board just on the outside. LF7 board with 9 and then LF7 board with 10. The moment we are still in the area. But no. Here, now. We passed it, but we have not seen any sign. F telling us that we're getting routed to the south side. Yeah, and you are right, Spectre. The tunnels that can be explored on the Frankfurt-Fulda line. Here should be the LF10 sign on the backside of those signals here. They are not included for whatever reason. From what I've, at least from what I've seen so far. We start at Hauptbahnhof tief. And Juniper says, the argument for DTG is that tunnels are so performance demanding, it was decided against including the tunnels under the city. So they demand the performance only for the Frankfurt-Fulda route. Understandably so, says Spectre. This is why I was surprised to see them basically all let out in Frankfurt. Fulda Kinzigtalbahn DLC. That is true. Well, we will see how this plays out. We are going across the Main to Niederrad. And if I'm not mistaken, we are in a 100 limit here. On the bridge. Careful. Not to overspeed too much. And prepare for the stop at Niederrad. Got a really long train, but it drives very forgivingly, if you can say it like this. A bit like an Electrostar. The stopping times are streamlined, so we are really stopping not for long, and you can actually make up a bit of time at the stops again, what I really like. So you can see the S-Bahn Rhein-Main. This is the sticker that they should have. Not the Niedersachsen ist am Zug that the 425s drive around with. Frankfurt Stadion, where the Eintracht plays. I actually don't know if they are still playing there, where they used to play at any rate. Now that they are playing Champions League, they might go somewhere else, but I'm not sure. Limit to 80 announced. Not our problem because we have to stop anyway. Juniper, I really hope there are some timetable rides where you are really stuck behind a queue of trains and you have to manage slow speed and changing signals. Well, there are at least a really big amount. There is a really big amount of services that you can play. So maybe there are some of this kind too. But it is definitely more busy than you would expect it from all the DLCs. You can see a change in that department at any rate. So how did we manage to be 1 minute late now? Maybe talking too much and driving too slowly. Until the brakes have released like 20% power, not more than 50, until the train is stretched. If you can actually stretch a train like this. And now we are going again underground. We had a limit to 80. It took effect at the starting signal. It corresponds with the track speed at the moment. Still 80 even though we get on the other line here. Or maybe we are actually getting into a short bit of a higher track speed here. No, not yet at any rate, maybe we're too long. But now we are, so this is a 160 part. Track speed wise. Well, we had our 80 announced and here is the 80 signaled. Because we are leaving this part of track to the right. Going this way into the Regionalbahnhof. Before that we went this way into the Fernbahnhof. Aha. I missed that. There was an increase to 120. LS6 for 11. Does not need acknowledgement, but I acknowledge everything so that I don't miss the relevant acknowledgements. And now we have to stop anyway. Can actually go up to 100% brake power if need be with this train. We will just yank in the dynamic brakes. You can see we still don't have any pressure in our brake pipe and our brake cylinders. All is done with dynamics. And this is the Regionalbahnhof. The short distance train station for the airport. Looks nice as well, not as flashy as the Fernbahnhof. And I'm too fast again. There are planes flying around underneath the floor for whatever reason. Maybe it was too busy above the floor. The updating of the mission objectives always takes quite long, so you can see that there's a lot of timetable to update, apparently. Inspector says that wall covering Sean Connery has called. He wants his kills back. This part of the tunnel really looks nice, doesn't it? Here's the LF7 for the 12th. Now we're going back north to Kelsterbach and then hug the river Main to the left to get to Rüsselsheim. And here is the rain again. Maybe that's a bit much, isn't it? Intermittent is enough. Autobahn. Limit to 100 announced. Hello, Spinner Tornado 94. Nice to have you on the stream, and thank you for your first entry to our chat. And here's your horn, CD Radar. We're coming horn blazing. Here's the 100 limit. How's the new S-Bahn? Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. If you are on PC, I definitely pick it up. If you are on console, you have to find out if the reduced timetable is a thing to put you off. But it's a large chunk of track. The scenery is nice in my opinion. There's a lot of traffic going on. Now we're going to Raunheim, and this will probably take us through a piece of track where we can accelerate beyond the 100 and 120 that we had before. You can see it already in the preview that there will be an increase to 160 soon. Got to go through the switches first, and then you can see the isolated ZS3 and Ziffer 16. As soon as we are out, put your foot down and we can try to go to our speed limit. Can this train actually go 160? I thought so. But somewhere I saw it listed with 140 tops. We have magnetic track brakes, haven't we? So there is no reason not to go 160. What is a build year of this train? Must be 2011-ish. 2011, 2012, 2013, something like this. And Spinner Tornado nice. I've been keeping an eye on some big news in the States. Pennsylvania Railroad T15550 is halfway complete, as the recent announcements. Yeah, we have been neglecting the US routes a bit, since the last one that was released was the one in Massachusetts, I think. By the way, don't need the wipers anymore. So even with full throttle, the train does not accelerate to 160. That might indicate that its top speed is actually lower. Gotta find out if that is the case. What does that mean, Spectre? Going under SRM? And Spinner Tornado says he's more concerned with the quality of the US routes. Yeah, I have to agree, especially in terms of safety systems, there is a lot lacking. The high-speed line to Cologne, that bridge, I see. That is the SRM. I did not notice. Great that you told us. What's the type again? The type? CD radar? Type of the train that we're driving, or... So, we actually made up some time. It's a shame because US freight operations are very unique and different compared to the rest of the world. It's just that Dovetail does not want to put in the time and effort to feature that in full glory. The Spinner Tornado. Well, I agree. The first thing that I played in Train Sim World was freight operations on sandpitch grade. So this is actually still what got me to train driving in computer games. And I love it. I love those heavy trains and those multiple diesel engines. And I would love to see that in more glory. I totally agree. I guess that this is not so easy to really simulate it properly, and that this gets to limitations quite easily. But nevertheless, if you don't try, you cannot push those limits. And I fear that actually the interest in the community in US routes is apparently not big enough to justify the input. We're still in 160 category. Territory, I mean. Now we're getting to Rüsselsheim. Dovetail is very reserved, the Spinner Tornado. They don't like to experiment, and that can extend to straight up laziness, which shows a quite few routes on an international scale. Yes, Spectre, thank you for translating this. Ein Rüssel in German language is that thing that sits there in an elephant's face. So, this long nose that the elephants have to get their food into their mouths, and what in English language might be called a trunk. This is what a Rüssel is in German, and this is Rüsselsheim. What this has to do with trunks and elephants, I have no idea. Nevertheless, this is the name. Yeah, you can see one of the semaphore signals already. English translations from the German language can be a bit rough sometimes. Yeah, I know, right. It's a semaphore main signal with a light protection signal, and with a semaphore distance signal next to it. that even has an NE2 board, even though it is located at the main signal. Now we're going to Rüsselsheim Opelwerk. As I said, this is the site where they built all those Opel cars in the decades after the war. And where they now have their headquarters, but are not manufacturing anything anymore, I think. Here's a Baureihe 363, ready to do some shunting services. Just made it back to the 240 points. Yes, 430's top speed is indeed 140, right? But they did not put a sticker in it. So we cannot go our 160 here, even though we would like to. Usually they have a sticker in the cab telling us that we can't go faster than whatever speed. Now we're going to Mainz-Bischofsheim. Leaving the area with the semaphore signals. Passing the high green equivalent in semaphore signals. Limit to 130 here. Well then, we will not go 160 anymore. Then we will be hard put finding any train that can go 160 here that is not an ICE. Now let's see how this with the 100% brake effort works. Because I'm really late on the brakes now because I was watching the plane in the sky. Nice station here. Yeah, brakes like a bumper car. Here's my stop marker. Brakes are not bad, but it could be better, yeah. I'm afraid braking like this will already kick people out of their seats. Usually I try not to go beyond the 70-80, and if it can be done at all, stay at around 50-60 when slowing down for a station. Unless we're late. So now Mainz-Gustavsburg. It's still 130. We'll increase to 140 here. For a short while, but then it will slow us down again. What does that mean, braking like a bumper car? Well, I'm just using this metaphor for saying that it really slows down really fast. You know those bumper cars at pairs? You take your foot from the throttle, away from the throttle, and it stops immediately. Those barriers were a bit late in closing, weren't they? I like that they have Packstationen now. Okay, that was it for today's. No accident in 0 days. I like the sound. Woo! Yeah, they have those Packstationen now. Those thingies where you can have your parcels being locked up and then you can pick it up so that the mailman don't need to take it to your door. I hope that was the door and not the poor guy lying under the train. And see, the radar says kilonewton, 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 kilonewton. Römisches Theater. I killed a man. This is too bad. Now we're crossing the Rhine. Put a gun against his head, pulled the trigger, now he's dead. No, that I didn't do. Galileo, Galileo. Well, I actually do not know why the station that we are stopping now is called Römisches Theater, so maybe there is a Roman theater somewhere nearby. Stands to reason at any rate. Easy on this, on this. Oh, probably I have to mark the video as containing content that might be disturbing. So where is this Roman theater? This is not a theater, it's a nice church, but it is apparently not a Roman theater. Spectre, we got it. Well, see, the radar is insisting that I definitely ran over a man. What's the limit here? 80. That's what they got us down to. Says CD Radar, who always jumps around in front of me when we're playing Simrail. Yes, I have experiences. So, will it be an E60 or will it be an E40? Looks like it's a 40. Mainz main station, it has a funny exit signal at platform 1 that always gives us a Kennlicht together with the HP2. Because they practice some kind of a Halbregelabstandsverfahren here. With a lot of signals that can be switched off by Kennlicht. And in my opinion they put the Kennlicht in the wrong route to the wrong phase, so that we're getting the Kennlicht with the HP2 and we're not getting the Kennlicht if the signal is supposed to be switched off with the Kennlicht. No way, we entered from tunnel. No? We did. We still got the 500 Hertz, even though the signal switched to a proceed aspect. But that's okay. At the moment it will just limit us to 40. Here's an inverted stop marker with a white H on black ground. Unten, yeah. I don't know why they named it Unten, their fictitious store. So somehow we lost the sound. And here you can see the signal. It's an HP2 and it is showing us the Kennlicht in between. Maybe it is some support for Ireland. Green, white, orange. But it is a weird aspect. Typically you don't get the Kennlicht together with a color light aspect. And I tried it out if you want. So now with this signal we are routed to the left at this switch. And if in free roam you pick a path that gets you to the front end so that you go straight on the switch, then this signal that is red at the moment will show the HP2. And this signal here is dark, completely dark. And this should have the Kennlicht that we have too much at the moment. I flagged this, but I'm not entirely sure if somebody is listening to me. So let's see if we get better FPS when we are out of Mainz Hauptbahnhof. Ah! I got my Zwangsbremsung because I did not acknowledge the Langsamfahrsignal Vorsignal. Because I was thinking of other things. So everything correct. So across more switches. This train has to wait. Another HP2 with 40 probably. Yeah. It is sending us through the next switch, but then we can go. The rain is back. At least it stopped in the meantime. So we cannot accelerate, we still have to pass the switches and leave the Weichenbereich before we can accelerate. Still have to go around this corner and then around this corner. And in between here is the river Rhine. Am I across my switch? Still not. You can see how long this train is. So long that yes, city radar all the way to the right, then all the way left, and now right again. Reminds me of you dispatching Oh shit, we should have stopped here. We don't. Sorry guys, I missed the stop. We're not stopping at Mainz Nord. Seriously, I have no idea what you are talking about. We're not stopping at Mainz Nord. This is a funny stop in the corner. And those corner stops, I sometimes miss. We had this on one of the SimRail streams, right? Across the Rhine, that is quite big at this point already. Sky looking nice, but I have to admit my FPS are deep in the red. Now again we're branching off to do the left turn. And underneath before we join with the tracks that are coming from Frankfurt on the northern side of the Main. But this is what I mean, it is actually quite interesting with the pathing and with up, down, speed limit increase, speed limit down. Yeah, very nice maps, the CD radar, yeah. So we had the same idea at the same moment, nice. Good thing we got a red signal so that I cannot miss the stop at Wiesbaden Ost. Hertz. Here's another thing that I reported. You can see that our signal that we're stopping at shows HP 0 on a old school HV signal, main signal, and the distance signal shows a Kennlicht. It showed a Kennlicht when it was red, and it shows a Kennlicht when it is green now, and when it is red. In my opinion, the whole distance signal should be dark without a Kennlicht being required. Also flagged it, we will see if someone is listening to me. This is a 423, I think. But those red trains are really hard to tell apart, at least for me. Maybe we need constant wiping now. So, at first we will be limited to 20 because of the restricted 500 Hertz. Now the red lamp came off, we are limited to 45 because of the restricted 1000 Hertz, but it is releasable, so we can accelerate. What was our limit here? It's 80 increasing to 100. Last leg to Wiesbaden. Did I miss the increase to 100? Apparently I did. Did not see a sign. But that does not necessarily mean it wasn't there. And again, prepare to stop. Slow down through the 80 to the 60 in case we're getting a 500 Hertz. There is actually a red signal before we can enter. The Juniper, at any rate, one signal is there that prevents us from entering. Little pig, let me in! I dare say if they would tell this to a dispatcher in real life or in SimRail, you will have to wait really long until you're allowed into this station. Zababa. What is Zababa? I quoted the big bad wolf. That should be something for you, CD Radar. Oops, no, we actually got a signal. Now it's raining more and more. In German you would say, es hat sich eingeregnet. What I always thought is a weird expression. And it's again rains in World 5. But actually we had some sunshine in between and the rain stopped. What is a rare thing to happen. Now we should probably start slowing down, because there is actually a buffer block at the end. Another Kopfbahnhof. Here we are limited to 30 and isolated set is 3. And no fog in... Oh. And at least no fog of death like on Cajón Pass. Yeah, that is true. Well, the fog of death was a thing in Trains in World 3 when it was new. I wonder whether we can clear the fog by switching to photo mode. And we have arrived at Wiesbaden. We can fill in our report. Ran over one person who jumped in front of the train at Gustavsburg. And C, they docked me for not using the wipers at the end when I switched them off when we were at the station and under the roof. They are unforgiving with the wipers. Even in tunnels and under a roof you have to use them or you will be docked for it. We missed a stop at Mainz Nord. And we got a Zwangsbremsung at Mainz Hauptbahnhof. Apart from this, no special occurrences. Ah, I know, I forgot to show you Mainz Hauptbahnhof. What is actually quite nice. In real life it is quite complex. We skipped the stop, yeah, at Nord, Mainz Nord. I mentioned it. I did not. I did not keep silent about this. So when I first came to Wiesbaden Hauptbahnhof, I found it quite complex to find the correct bus stop to go on into the city. Because there are a lot of bus stops that are quite all over the place, not for passenger. Yeah. Well, there must have been some hallucination because no one is actually missing. To round this up, I would suggest, since we have 10 minutes left, we... one thing... No, I don't take the Frankfurt Fulda Vectron because I think it has a problem with the scoring system. At least it had on the Dutch route. And here, this is at least one service that runs through this part of the track that we have not seen yet. Kurtizi, wherever this might be, to Köln-Eiffeltor. Only 13 minutes. Can we not have heavy clouds? Well then, let's just make the clouds heavier. Cannot. I cannot have dynamic weather and start with something else. Anyway, then let's do this. And see if we are actually going the way that was indicated in the preview. Starting at Bischofsheim, I think, where there is a big yard, and then we are going across the Main and driving on the other side of the Main before we get... Curtici is the town located in western Romania, says CD Radar. Aha! That sounds plausible. Is it already dark at 21:18? Well, then let's look at it at night. Why not? We are on German, we have the correct thing going on. Brakes are in.
AFB. AFB. AFB.
We are starting at the yard, probably. We're starting at an HP2. Oh, we're not so deep in the yard. We have an intermodal train that we are carrying from Curtici. Our timetable is really empty. Wait. That sounds Wikipedia. And I actually used Google Wiki, not the ChatGPT. Well, this is a question that you can actually answer without ChatGPT. High beams dimmed. Did I forget anything? I think we should be good. Train brake should be released probably before we can run. Using the direct brake. Let's try. What is our load? Oh, we're really heavy. We're almost beyond the 1600 tons. That calls at any rate for G on the loco and M on the PZB. I think we can live with that. And even mentioned that there is a large cargo terminal there. Might want to release also that brake. And I'm new to the Vectron. Kamil, hey, nice to see you. Why not enable the higher E-bremse power? Probably because I am just too lazy. But why am I not getting any power at any rate? What did I forget again? The brake is in. Bremse ist angelegt. Angleicher ist aktiviert. Why is the brake still angelegt? Full released. I released it here. I did not. I did not confirm the speed on the AFB. That's it. No, not the parking brake. We should have heard from the parking brake, or it should have told us here. Anyway. On this screen here, we should have gotten a parking brake indication. I did not confirm the AFB speed, that's all. Starting program, we can release because we got more than 30 kilometers per hour and we don't have to expect 1000 hertz or 500 hertz Turn that white screen off. Yeah, I know what you mean. Now it is night mode. Now it is blue at any rate. Going into 80 section. We're probably still not out of the 40. Yes, as you can see here. How long are we, by the way? 637 meters. What train is this? This is a Vectron Baureihe 193. It's one of the freight services that unfortunately are not in the console reduced timetable. And I did not use my train length counter. Stupid me. Now we are up to 60. Really 60? Ah, my muscle memory even remembered the Control F shortcut for confirming the speed. We are pulling uphill. At least it feels like it. Because we are not gaining really a lot of speed, are we? Well, you can hear it. It is coming. It is coming. And you can see that we are going through this connection that we did not go through before. Oh, but now we are routed this way and not this funny way around it, even though it showed on the preview. So, as is the case sometimes, the preview is not always exact. Across the Rhine. No, across the Main. Sorry, now I got confused myself. We're crossing the Rhine then at the end of the service, if I'm not mistaken. VR2. Not faster than 65, but that's okay. We are already beyond that. And then we are preparing for a 60 gap, so this is probably a 60 reduction, so that we don't really have to slow down to 40, but we don't know. So we slow down to 40. Nice thing about the freight trains is that we typically do not have any problem with the timetable. Yeah, but it's a plain vanilla HP2, so good thing we slow down to 40. If there is nothing in the timetable that allows us to go faster, then they will send us with 40 through the 60 gap. Here's the reason why they slowed us down, because we're going through the switches. Hallelujah. Just wanted to activate the train length counter to see when we are out. So then we should be in a 120 bit. No, they are still holding us. Then a 100. Is it so that they still slow down all the freight trains to 100? That would be a bit annoying. Oh no, it is because we are getting a 100 limit here anyway. That is okay. Soon as our train length counter has counted to 0, I think we can accelerate to 100. Probably even a bit earlier. That was the train length counter. And now let's see if it makes sense to accelerate at all. We still have 5.9 kilometers until we get to Wiesbaden Ost. So let's not block the line for too long. I think the 90 is announced now. That is the case. Here's the 90. That was here. Mainz-Kastel, I think. And the VR2 is coming up. Slow down below the 62, 65. so that we don't get a Zwangsbremsung. And then further on to our 40 that is announced. And it is an E60, eh? Was not necessary to slow down to 40. 60 would have sufficed. Look how the train is passing on the bridge. That is cute. Almost bedtime and almost at home. So next Sunday, guys, I won't be able to stream because I have to do some lecturing on Monday and Tuesday away from home. And I will start my journey already on Sunday night, so I won't be at home. But I will probably take this opportunity to travel in real life to Garmisch-Partenkirchen and Mittenwald to have a look at those two stations. And what they look like now as compared to what they looked like in 1989 in the Mittenwald DLC. Very nice, have a good time, this Juniper. Yeah, unfortunately I will not have so much time for that. I will be lecturing in the morning, and then in the afternoon I will just do a short dip to Mittenwald and then back again. Another 60. Let's check where we are. Very nice. The Spectre. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. In case the signal was for us, but it was not for us apparently. What will you teach? I will teach law. No railway law though. No crocodile there any longer, I'm assuming. No, I'm afraid not. Hertz. Repeater. So let's see how this train brakes here. Not like a bumper car, I can say as much. And they want us to go the extra mile. Well, then okay, we will go the extra mile and creep up to the signal. Now it takes forever to release the brakes. And for the holding brake to kick in. Now they are happy. Thank you so much, guys, for bearing with me. This was my unboxing stream about the Frankfurt S-Bahn DLC. I think it is a really good DLC. At any rate, if you play on PC. If you play on console with the big bummer that you only get the restricted timetable. But nevertheless, it is a great map. It looks nice. It feels nice. The signaling is in a very good condition, notwithstanding some little niggles, but all in all, it makes a lot of sense from what I've seen so far. So you have to decide for yourself whether you want to pick it up or not, and if you're not sure, then maybe just wait until it comes up on a sale in a couple of months when the hype is another thing. Thanks for the streams, Spectre. Yeah, okay, and as I said, next Sunday I will not be here. I will see, maybe I can find another day. If not, then in 2 weeks' time. Or if something else gets released, so I will try to do this unboxing stream as a kind of a regular thing whenever something is released and DTG is not making their own release stream about it. Then I will probably try doing this. Since on the Epic Game Store we are not in the comfortable position as the Steam players who can pre-record their videos with first look and all the things to know about the new DLC already released before the actual release within the small window of time when it is okay to do so. So I will probably do it after it has been available to get out of this hype a bit. That is, in my opinion, a bit annoying, but nevertheless. So this is my idea about that. It makes sense to look at the new DLCs, and since I'm in the comfortable position that I don't have to buy them anymore as an ambassador, I'm happy to share this. Next Sunday I won't be there. I already said this. This is the third time. And then I will be hopefully able to show you some pictures from Mittenwald and Garmisch when I return. Thanks a lot, guys, for bearing with me. Have a nice time. Be nice to each other, and see you around.